Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Wow, guys, people like this don't understand the concept of linear time. Forget about waiting in a queue. Sometimes it takes time to do a task. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Can't wait to start waiting. I work in a high-volume private practice medical setting with a job title that has me doing a mix of clinical and administrative work. This particular night, the front desk was short-staffed, and I was asked to help cover until the phones turned off at 5 p.m. We were getting a barrage of phone calls, which meant I was answering the phone mostly by picking it up, instructing the person to hold for the next available staff member, placing them on hold, and then picking calls back up in the order they were received. Simple. Simple until a patient who's always abrasive and rude, Mr. Patient, calls. Me. Thank you for calling Place for Specialty. This is OP speaking. How may I help you? Mr. Patient. My insurance has changed to out-of-state Medicaid. Does Dr. Person accept that? Me. As far as I'm aware, we cannot accept Medicaid plans from other states. You do have the option to pay out-of-pocket for visits. Let me transfer you to billing to have them take a look, okay? Mr. P. Fine. I put him on hold and pop back to the billing coordinator, who's one room over, and explain the situation. I ask her to pick up his line. She says she's finishing up with another client, but can get him in a minute or so. Before she can pick him up, he hangs up. Okay, whatever. I go back up front, and the phones are still ringing like mad. I go to answer the next call and see it's Mr. Patient again. All three of my lines are ringing, so I just do what I'm supposed to do, answer, tell him to hold, and put him on hold so I can work through everyone in order. He's at the top of the line, so no biggie. I can pick him back up in about 15 seconds. Except he hangs up again. And then calls back again. I see what he's trying to do, and I'm immediately annoyed. He wants instantaneous attention, and in the process is prolonging my ability to help him and tying up my lines. Refusing to give in, I pick him up and greet him and immediately put him on hold. I start helping my other callers, and he hangs up and calls back again. I continue to work down my line of held calls and assist them, pausing in between to answer his calls and put him back on hold. We repeat this cycle no less than 7 times until finally I pick up the phone and he shrieks, "Do not put me back on effing hold!" Defeated, I relent. At this point, I could have assisted him several times over had he not been so ridiculous, and now I just want him gone. Me. How can I help you? Mr. P. I just changed insurance, and I just effing need to find out if you accept it. Me. Absolutely. We can check for you. Would you like to speak to the billing coordinator? Mr. P. Yes, I want you to go get her. Me. Sure thing. I'll go get her for you. One moment, okay? Mr. P. Okay. And with that, gleefully, I reached down and put him on hold. It's not like he was getting put on hold and left there. He was hanging up the instant after OP put his line into park. Had he waited a few moments, he would have been first helped. And our second story. I used to work here, dude, but I was useless then and am useless now. So I worked at Walmart for like 4 months. Background. I was not a good employee. I got moved off of registers because I apparently insulted a woman to whom I was trying to explain that her card was being declined while she was $5 short. I got moved to fabrics and crafts because I guess when you have an apparently unstable employee, the solution is to give her a big pair of fabric scissors. The thing is, all I learned was how to zone, and I didn't even have any equipment on me because my info wasn't in the system to check out any price checkers, walkie-talkies, etc. I was always told they were working on it. I also didn't know where anything was besides fabric and glitter. Every time I asked for more training, I was told I'd been trained and needed to get it together. So I ended up quitting in a fairly interesting fashion. Our tale. I'm at the store. Everyone who works there has a vest. I don't have a vest. I'm wearing jeans and an Evanescence shirt from 2007. And this was before the store allowed their employees to wear whatever they wanted, so they were all in a limited selection of shirt types and black pants. So while I'd been working there, I'd had a couple of encounters with an older gentleman, in that he would ask me where something is, and I would honestly try to find it for him until he got impatient, valid, and asked someone else who did know. and then made sure to find me after he got his whatever so he could insult my intelligence. Fair, I guess. I'm in the grocery section. I'm looking for rice. Guys, I was just looking for rice. All I wanted was some rice. There was so much rice. Hey, Salsa! Interesting name for someone who's not me, I thought, as this shout floated through the air. A fun nickname, perhaps? Saucy? Then someone taps on my shoulder, interrupting one of the most important decisions of my life. And I realized the voice was familiar. I turn around and it's Grumpy himself, still trying to make that mustache work. So he gets points for confidence. Salsa, he says again. He stares. I gesture weakly behind me. Not sure what we are now, what his mission is. This is the rice. You're where the rice is. I know it's the GD rice. I need to find your paste salsa. There's none on the shelf. I'm so sorry, I say, as a non-salsa connoisseur trying to empathize. He already thinks I'm an idiot at this point, but now he really looks it. You work here. Go restock the damn salsa. It's the only kind my wife will eat, he says. I don't work here anymore. I pray this sets me free. It doesn't. But he does pause. He's thinking. He's thinking about me and about salsa. My brain's going back to rice. So you can't help me? He finally asks. Dude, when have I ever been able to help you? I finally say. He nods. At last, he's satisfied. Good point, he says, and he looks past me and sees an actual employee elbow deep in some Campbell's soup cans. Hey, salsa! Back to rice. I went with the Jasmine. Who the hell just screams salsa at a supposedly employee? Even if you were an employee, it'd be easier to add in, where's the... Otherwise, you'd get some deer in the headlights looks. And our last story. Crazy HOA Karen. Backstory. Spring 2015, and we were relocating from the East Coast to the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. We were moving into a hot market, and houses were getting 12 to 20 offers each, super stressful for buyers. We had looked at dozens of houses in the area and were outbid on all of our offers. My husband decided we needed to up our price to find something decent. We asked our agent to show us something in a beautiful neighborhood within our new price point. We walk into a beautiful home. The kitchen was almost perfect. It was a designer spec home, meaning the builder built the home without a specified buyer in hand to finish the block and move to the next section of the subdivision. The designer who chose the finishes really did a phenomenal job. This house had $150K in upgrades. In our initial walk around the property, we see a lady, Debbie, come out of the house behind us and just stare. I waved at her because I wanted to make a good impression on our possible neighbor, but she just stared at us. We exit the front door and go back to the sales office with the keys to speak with the salespeople. They were super helpful. I mean, really, really helpful. They explained that the house had been completed almost 6 months earlier, and they haven't had any legitimate offers that the builder would accept. They gave my husband the breakdown of all the upgrades and what the house was initially listed at and each price reduction and date. We asked about the lady behind the house, and they all rolled their eyes and laughed. Said she was harmless, but a major pain in the behind. As we left, the salesman told us what the last offer was and said to just go a little above it and we'd be fine. We went to lunch with our agent to look over everything about the house. We loved the house and decided to make an offer. Our offer was accepted and we got a great deal. From the initial listing price to our offer, we saved over $175K. Should have been a huge red flag that they were willing to let this property go at that price. After we move in, we meet the neighbors next door, Jim and Amanda. They're lovely people, but we only see Debbie come out to stare at us and our house. Jim and Amanda tell us that Debbie was one of the original homeowners in the subdivision. They were too, and that Debbie has scared away countless potential buyers for our house and the house next door by staring and making people uncomfortable. Everyone else we met was very welcoming. Things with Debbie started slow at first. We needed to put up a fence for our dogs. We had approval from the HOA, and the day that our contractor arrived to start installing fence posts, Debbie lost her ever-loving mind. HOA rules stated that the fence must be put right on the property line and that we had to install a 4-foot-high split-rail fence with hog wire for the dogs, not a privacy fence. That's exactly what we were putting up. Debbie tried claiming that we were trying to put our fence on her property and she was calling the police. The police show up, sirens, lights, the whole show. She called 911, and Debbie screaming that the fence installers were threatening to kill her. The contractor and I are just standing on my deck, trying not to laugh. She said we were calling her really offensive names. We weren't, and that we were trespassing in her yard. The officer asked Debbie to point out who said what, and she proceeds to point at 3 of the fence installers. The second officer approaches us to get our side, and the contractor shows that we have HOA approval and the survey showing all property lines, and tells him that the 3 men she's accusing of harassment speak limited English. So no way they said anything to her. Then Debbie doubles down with the trespassing and trying to say that we were putting our fence on her property. The officers ask to see the property pins, and my contractor tells them that Debbie pulled them up herself as soon as she saw where the fence would be constructed. The officer found the pins in Debbie's yard. She also claimed to be the president of the HOA. Turns out Debbie had been encroaching onto our property for years. Her house was built about 7 years before ours, and she'd been planting about 6 feet past the property lines. We got our fence installed about 4 inches shy of the property line. Debbie received a warning for pulling property pins. Side note, this obviously is a well-to-do neighborhood with many houses in excess of $2 million, and Debbie used empty beer bottles buried neck down as her border for her various planting beds. She did this to keep water out. When the fence was complete and I had the task to remove all the beer bottles, Debbie watched me the whole time. I asked her if she wanted them back. She never answered. It's like you moved into a sitcom, complete with property pin antics and Debbie's watchful eye. Kudos for handling it with humor and a well-placed fence. Here's to hoping your new neighborhood chapters come without a Debbie cameo. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.